Okay, do you see like these two holes? See the small one right in there? That goes inside these pins right there, lines them on. And then right next to it is where the bolt goes at, which you can see is big enough for a bolt. And then it jumps from another bolt, which is right there, and then it goes to that pin sticking out, and then a bolt, pin, and then a bolt. So you know you have to follow that, put those pins inside those holes in there, and then lines in and kind of put the bolts in there, but don't tighten them up right away. You got to put the tool inside here, which is the plastic tool that's right here. So let me go and start setting that up, then I'll put the tools, then I'll tighten it up so you get an idea how that works there then. Okay, alright, so far I got the tool inside here, which lines up the pressure disc inside there. The purpose of this tool is to hold the pressure disc in place, so when I bolt the pressure plate on top, the input shaft of the transmission could slide right in with no problem. This is actually has teeth in it. The pressure disc has teeth in it, and then you got the flywheel, so that this tool at the very end of the other end of the tool has a long extension, so it slides between the couplings into the teeth of the pressure disc, and then I just tighten this pressure plate on top. Then when I bring the transmission input shaft, it just slides right in perfectly. Without this tool, the pressure disc won't stay lined up, so the input shaft won't be able to go in. So now I had to move the pressure disc several times for these pins to line up. They didn't line up right away with the other pins. I had to find it where it was at, move it around, and then it actually fit right there where I'm at right here. So this is a good time to use the bolts. It came, you know, that actually was with the clutch, and blue locks, bolt locks in it, and just tighten them up. And I think it's 20 pounds or 14 pounds for these bolts, and I'll go ahead and do that, and then take the tools out and then work on the input shaft, because I have to oil that stuff up over there, and put the bearings also, which I have to also oil. So I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. Okay, now that I tighten the bolt, I use some of the bolts with blue thread tight lock to lock the bolts in there. So I got a block in here, and also the socket to hold the flywheel so it won't shift. And now it's ready to take out the tool. Now that this should be nice and straight for the input shaft, and that's what I need to do next. The input shaft is next. So this is done. So it's pretty much changed my clutch so far. So as soon as I'm done with the transmission input shaft and the forks over on that side, then I can put the whole transmission back in there, which is pretty much gonna use the jack. I realize it's really heavy. This stuff is made with aluminum. The flywheel is aluminum. And I think the transmission with the input shaft that is made out of cast iron, because it seems to be really heavy. So it had a lot of weight when I was bringing it down. So I was shocked. I thought it was a little much lighter, but I guess not. So let's get back. Let's go to outside and deal with the put some oil to the transmission over there. Okay, now on my side, this is the input shaft tube pipe in there. This is the fork. See, mine goes up and down, which to me I thought was going to be back and forth. It's kind of strange. Well, what I need to do is put a little bit of all-purpose grease right here on the teeth right here, and also the pipe here, and a little bit on the forklift. Now this is the new bearing on it, and It's kind of strange bearing. Just got these little holes sticking out with a fork. I guess it was just put it in there. It doesn't, you know, when I take it out, right, it doesn't shift back and forth. It seems to lock in there. There's no actually grip inside there. You could easily get out, but I guess apparently it goes back. So what I do is add a little oil in here, so pretty much have less friction when it's going back and forth. When I'm shifting a lot, it could just easily go back and forth. And so I'm also going to add a little oil to the spring here because of the heat, and after that, you know, putting a little bit of oil gives it a much cooler effect to the springs. And I'm going to put some in at the fork right in here, a little bit of all-purpose grease in here, a little bit of inside the bearings. So here's grease in the bearings, grease on the teeth right here, grease on the tube, grease right here on the forks, and grease on the spring here. Now I cleaned, this thing was full of oil and stuff, and I just sprayed in, wiped it, sprayed it, wiped it till it finally get to like this. I'm okay with this like this, so I'm just gonna do that and then get back on this, show you my next progress. After this, I just carried this all the way back to the car and just start lifting up with the jack and installing it, which I'll line up with the couplings I got on the other side right here and right here. And so then the rest of it is bolted down. So that's so far that's it. So I'm gonna use this little bit of this grease right here and just kind of grease it up like that. All right. Okay, I got the transmission facing the the clutch. The deal is that I jacked this car way as high as I can, which was great because I needed a lot of space to work and take things apart, uninstall stuff. But now it's too high for this, because my jack doesn't go as high even with a 4x4 under it. So I gotta go ahead and jack it down a little bit so I could put this transmission right in place, which lines up with the couplings here, the couplings right here, up there. And so let me go ahead and jack it down, and then maybe I have to jack it back up. I have to jack it back up again. So it was nice to have the car up as it was, but now it's too high for my jack to take it up high up there. So I probably had to jack the car down a little bit so the transmission could reach up there and line up with the couplings. And so I have to jack it down now, and then probably jack it back up so I could just start installing all the stuff back in there. So pretty much all that's done. Hey, pretty much all this done. I gotta put in the bearings in there. I forgot to put that bearing. I'm gonna put it in there so make sure it lines up right. Alright, that's the progress now. Jack the car down, jack this back up, transmission, bolt it down. Oh, jack the car back up, then bolt it down. Either way. Alright, thanks. Okay, I put it in the jack there, and it's gonna crank it up. I'm gonna put this part inside this bar right here. This bar. This part, you kind of loop it to the side and then scoop it up and then put the jack on there, keep lifting it up. That's something I could do right now to actually, because I'm doing this by myself. So this is what I gotta do to get this because I can't lift it up by hand all the way. I can lift it up, but not enough, so I have to work like this, put the car down a little bit. So that's what I'm doing. Go in, had a hard time, so I had to go Harbor Freight and buy this bar engine haul to hold the transmission so I could guide it inside the input shaft. As I put it in there, I found out that the coupling on the side that lines up the transmission was bented. I don't know how I got bented, but they didn't allow me to get in there, and that's why when I was using the jack, I couldn't get it in there because the jack did not allow it to go all the way through.